I say we don't need any of that.
Doesn't validate.
Imam Hussein doesn't need to be validated by anybody. Imam Hussein alayhi salam is a phenomenon. He is something that is larger than life. The question is why.
Yeah.
So I think we can kind of get into, you know, some of the details about how Imam Hussein alayhi salam provides solutions to almost all the problems that we have in the world today on the day of Ashura. Everything from gender roles to being a true lover of peace. You know, the fact that he didn't initiate the hostilities. The power of the resilience of the human spirit.
Yeah.
You know, everybody has problems. And everybody's asking, like, how can I persevere? How do I live in such a way where I don't allow my calamities to crush me? Imam Hussein has the answer. You know, how do you, and I think, this is what I was telling to Ali earlier. You can find some inspiring personalities in human history. Like, I'm not going to deny that Martin Luther King, I'm not going to say that he's not an inspiring person. He is. Nelson Mandela, they're inspiring. They made important contributions, civil rights, you know, ending apartheids. But they're not the full package.
It's not universal.
Would you say it was limited to their time?
It was limited, and also, like,
compared to Abdullah.
Do we have millions of people visiting Nelson Mandela every year?
Of course, yeah.
Like there's a mystery to Imam Hussein, and I think we have to kind of ask that question. But we haven't started the episode yet, right?
No,
I think we have.
But I think a good way to even start is that when you discuss Imam Hussein, instead of trying to explain to people who Imam Hussein is, flip the question. Why doesn't the legacy media cover the largest peaceful annual commemoration that draws 20-30 million people from around the world? Like, that's an intention omission.
Yeah.
Like, you know, sometimes when I'm in Canada, I'm watching the news. Literally, I've seen shows where it's a 10-minute segment about how they saved a cat that was, like, trapped in a tree. Like, why does that make the news?
Yeah.
But 30 million people descending upon a man who was martyred 14 centuries ago. How come that? So the question is, why is that being concealed?
Nice. Okay.
The people, the 1%, the global elitists. What is it about this story that they don't want people to know about? Right?
Do you think we can drift into, to take it one step further?
Yeah.
Sayed and I were talking today about the Muslim. Obviously, we want to give people condensed and useful information that they can use in their engagements with their peers, whether they're Muslim or non-Muslim.
Yeah.
The non-Muslim angle is where we bring in the social justice figures, the universality of the Imam, the identity of the Imam. With the Muslims, it's more about battling misconceptions and defamations that people have put on the Imam. He died in a political struggle. He didn't give bay'ah to the leader when he should have. He took his family knowing they're going to get killed.
I'm happy to discuss all of that, because I think, you know, I think it was Sayyid al-Zanjani, one of our maraja in Qom. He actually makes a really, really good point. He says that we usually frame the movement of Imam Hussein as a revolt against an evil caliph.
That's not right. Yeah.
Forget about his divine appointment. According to the peace treaty with Imam al-Hassan that Muawiyah agreed to, it's actually Yazid who's revolting against Imam al-Hussein.
Yeah.
Why do you think Imam al-Hussein is heading towards Kufa? Because he's trying to reestablish the capital of his father.
Sorry. Yeah.
So this crushes the whole argument that, you know, Hussein shouldn't have, you know, rebelled against the Muslim king. Well, it's the other way around.
Yeah.
It's Yazid who rebelled against Hussein. So that argument that, you know, radiyallahu an, but, you know, he shouldn't have rebelled and revolted against a legitimate Muslim caliph. He wasn't legitimate. Divinely and even politically, he wasn't legitimate.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. I think that's...
So
I think that's a really nice
So nice
And also another important thing, and I know maybe in a lot of Shia circles we don't talk about this enough, and that is Imam Hussein alayhi salam didn't only attract individuals who were theologically Shia, at least in the beginning. Like Zuhair ibn al-Qayn, if you were to sit him down like before, like the days leading up to Ashura, and you say, okay, what are your aqa'id? It probably wouldn't be like the orthodox Shia position. And Imam Hussein alayhi salam he's the Imam of everybody. And he's not going to be like, okay, this movement is only for those who are theologically Shia. Of course, the Imam is going to guide people according to their capacity. But the point is, the movement of Imam Hussein should not be seen as a movement that is led by a Shia leader, because Imam Hussein is not a Shia leader. He's a Muslim leader. He's a guide for humanity. So that's, so the beauty of just the diversity of the camp of Imam Hussein alayhi salam.
Is it true, Shaykhna, that Zuhair was a companion of Uthman?
He was Uthmani al-Hawa. Now, what does that mean? It seems that he had some sympathies with the Uthmanis.
He had the reluctance.
There was reluctance. And then we can also speak about, going back to this issue of gender role.
Yeah.
A woman doesn't need to draw a sword to participate in a battle. She can use that. She can use her influence. She can use, the love that she has, her gentleness, to apply what we can call positive pressure. I mean, if it wasn't for Dulham, Zuhair wouldn't have earned, Shahada. The fact that there's a demarcation of gender roles on the day of Ashura. Imam Hussein is not telling the women, everyone suit up, wear your armor. The women are also going to fight. Equality. No. The women have a role to play. The men have a role to play, and they're equally important.
That's a beautiful.
And that resolves a lot of the problems that we have today. Like, why is it a competition? Why is it always a competition? Why is it always gender wars? Even this idea of respect for private property. Yeah. He purchases the land like within a 4-mile radius because he doesn't want to be buried in usurped land.
Subhanallah.
Imam Hussein doesn't want his dead body.
So Imam Hussein purchased.
Yeah. We have a narration of it.
Okay.
Because look at the integrity. Wow. Look at the morality that I don't want to be buried in ghasbi land.
Yeah.
If you look at the issue of Palestine today, Imam Hussein says, I don't want my dead body to be buried in a usurped land, while we have people who are trying to build homes on usurped land. Right? So everything is in Karbala. Everything that we need is there.
There's a lot.
And I think we should also talk about the last dua of Imam Hussein alayhi salam. I think we can all agree that we can define who a person is by looking at their last moments. What does Allah tell us about Asiya? The last dua of Asiya. The last dua of Asiya gives us a glimpse into who this woman is. Her love for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The last dua of Imam Hussein tells you who Imam Hussein is. And inshallah, we can talk about that. Just like make a note so we don't forget it, because some of these things are really important.
Beautiful.